Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to On the Spot Motorsports with David Rogers. I am your host, Mitchell Gunter. And tonight we have a wonderful guest joining us, Mr. Roy Hill, legendary pro stock racer back in the day, raced against names like uh, Gladden, Jack Coughlin, and many more. So we're glad to have him on. And to further ado, I'm going to bring him in. Good afternoon, Mr. Hill, and thank you for joining on the spot with David on the spot motorsports with David Rogers tonight.
Mitchell, it's really nice to hear from you. And we talked a little bit over the past month, and I hate it's not going to work out for you to come to the school next week. But we have a school the 6th and 7th, and you're going to miss a good education about drag racing and a lot of fun.
Well, I'm hoping one day I will be able to get the car up there and attend the school. I think it will actually help me mentally at the track to get prepared, and to better reaction to the tree when it comes down and try to work on my rollout. I'm a shallow stager, so I like to go in really shallow and just barely put on the second bulb. Every time I've tried to roll in too deep, I've always went red.
You're one of these people that go into the first bow and then just bump, 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 bump. Is that what you do?
I don't bump. I just barely roll in, just barely roll in slowly, as instead of try to bump too hard. Because I think when you start doing that, uh, you take a little bit of attention away from the other racer, and I don't like to do that. When I win, I like to win straight up and win the right way. And I'm not big on rolling in and putting both bubs on at the same time. To me, that's just, even though there's no rule against it, it's just an unsportsmanlike type of a deal to do someone that way.
Well, I learned years ago, coming up in the 70s, 80s, people like to rush you. You would rush yourself. And I learned something. That tree's not going to come on to you stage.
That's
So
right.
there's no reason to rush yourself or anybody else. I don't mean drag them out to nothing, but take your time and take some deep breaths when you get in and get prepared to go, whether you're staging first or whether you're staging second. Oxygen to your brain means everything in the world.
Yes, sir. Well, before we start getting into your school tonight, I want to talk a little bit about, what got you interested in drag racing when you were younger?
Well, back here in the South, and I was about 12 miles from Richard Petty's. I ended up in 75, moving within 3 or 4. But Richard was the biggest and greatest thing there was. And I learned early in life how to get around them and be around them and learn what I could. I learned real quick they wasn't going to help anybody going round and round against them. So that was a big thing, is to go and learn about drag racing. And so I guess in 62, I was fortunate enough to be around Gentleman Sam Kennedy. From 62 to 68, he passed away, had a stroke. Um, the Petties remembered me from being that young boy, kept his mouth shut and worked his butt off. And I was at Piedmont Dragway one Sunday. And when you said Piedmont Dragway is going to have a super stock race, you better get there about 9 o'clock, because it's about 7 miles to 85, and it would be backed up all the way. And so they were all over there. The Jenkinses, the Carltons, Sox and Martins, everybody was there racing. And so about midway through things, uh, Buddy Martin seen me and walked up to me and asked me what I was doing. And I said, well, I got rid of Sam's stuff and I don't really have nothing to plan to do. And he said, well, how about going to the West Coast with us? Oh man, I was a kid at the candy store. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
And so we left Monday the next day. Um, I was driving the truck with Danny Grace, and we would go to Plymouth dealerships and set up displays. And Ronnie and Buddy would fly in. The first place we went was Seattle, Washington, and it's quite an experience. As you know, Ronnie Sox and Buddy Martin was a showmanship of all racing. And so I got in on the ground floor and learned what that meant. And I didn't get to work on the cars much. And I guess after the third or fourth week, I realized what was really going on. And I did the very best I could to please everybody. First of all, driving and keeping everything safe. Now get ready. Gas was 21 to 19 cents a gallon. That's in
But it'd be
68.
nice if we had that today.
Like you said, we're not going to get into this political deal, but hang on. We have no idea what's coming, do we? But anyway, I learned to do everything that I was asked to do, and that's keep the displays looking good, keep myself looking good, and do everything they expected. And it got to where I could change tires and do a few little things. And it was really tough for me because I was used to working on carburetors, changing cams, adjusting valves. And I guess about 6 weeks into the deal, we were down in Alabama. And there was a guy, the marketing guy, Tom Richardson, was going home after there, and they had one more stop in Atlanta. Buddy asked me if I wanted to go home. I said, well, if you don't need me. So I come home. I didn't want no parts of drag racing ever again. So I tried to figure out what I was going to do, and I bought a service station in the middle of High Point. High Point's the furniture capital of the world, and I made too much money. I had to spend it. I went and bought a car from Buddy Martin, Ron Stocks. It was a 69 Roadrunner. They were going to their 70s eventually. And I started the first 3 weeks in stock. What I had learned from the Sam Kennedy, Ronnie Sox, Buddy Martin, Richard Petty, Maurice Petty, and Lee Petty headed me in the right direction. And I asked Richard one time, why did he not run the Indy cars, sprint cars? And his answer was, I wanted to be the very best I could be in Grand National Racing. That's what it was called back then. Then it became Winston Cup Racing. And I never forgot what he said. I want to be the best in pro stock that I could be. And I won several races through the years, runner-up. I had a great career. Did a lot of match racing. There was a little, at Ronnie and Buddy's shop every Tuesday, I'd go down there. They'd be back from the races, and there would be parts taken off the cars, the rear ends, the transmission gears, the clutches. And there was a pile over on the floor. That was Roy's pile. You don't mess with it. And that's how I run my cars. And as I needed different things, I'd either go to Sox and Martin or I'd go to the Petties. I can't say what the Petty family done for me. I went there in 72 for them to build me a 72 Duster, and I didn't leave till 78. I lived about 4 miles from them. There was no school. They didn't stand and tell me how to do. They gave me a chance to be around them and learn from them. Business, racing. It was just a tremendous chance I had, and I took advantage of it. I still talk to Buddy Martin every afternoon about 5 to 6:30. It's just great to be able to do what I've done. I guess about 1989, I'd had some problems and sit for about 3 years and trying to decide what I was going to do in the future. And I knew I'd started something. I had to get out of my car in '87. I'd won 4 races. There were 2 to go, getting ready to be the champion. And I had to put Doug Cart in the car. I had to make a decision who to put in the
Right.
car because I wanted to race. Put Doug in there at Rockingham. Him and his daddy flew in on Friday night. We had supper and we spent about 2 hours of me telling him what we were going to go do. He had always listened to me. Him and his brother, which his brother had an accident and is not here no more. And so Doug listened to me all the time. If he had problems, he'd come to see me. And they started out with a super gas car. And he had started trying to run pro stock. And so I had several people to pick from to go in my car. And I chose him. Didn't really know a whole lot. I didn't want somebody that knowed a whole lot. I just wanted somebody that could listen. So we go out Saturday morning. And Jerry Haas had qualified the car on Friday. And so sent the car back out. I think Jerry was 9th, 8th, somewhere in there. We went out with Doug, and he would have been 8th spot. So we come back, we talked. He did everything the way I asked him to do it. Done a good job. So I give it a little more power. We moved up to 4th spot. I talked to him a little more about the car and how it felt. And you've got to have a good communication with a driver if you're going to tune the car. And so we got 3 runs on Saturday. And late evening Saturday, we went to #1 spot. So from there, we went out the next day and won the race. Meant an awful lot to me for a second. And then I realized I wasn't in the car. And it was the biggest hurt you can ever feel. So I shook that off and tried to smile as much as I could. And we go 2 weeks later to Bristol. We go up there and just start dominating, and he won Bristol. Beat Ricky Smith in the semifinals, and I believe it was Billy Ewing in the finals. So that meant an awful lot. That car was a championship car, but it didn't have the driver that started and won 4 races. We had to change. So I had to just decide what I was going to do. And so sometimes you have to sit and you see leaves grow on trees. And then fall comes or winter comes and the leaves fall off. But when they fall off, you see a mountain over there. And if you can move that mountain, you can see a city. And that's what I was doing. Looking past the leaves on the trees and looking past the trees and past the mountain. And there was a great opportunity. And so I decided to start the Royal Hill Drag School in 1987. 89, excuse me, 89. And we started with pro stock cars. I'll never forget Warren Johnson, Glidden. They laughed at me. What do you think you can teach? I was all right. I kept doing what I knew how to do. And then all of a sudden, those drivers wasn't scared to pull up beside somebody that had been through my school because they knew I was stern, tough, hard. There would be nobody driving over their head. I can't say enough for Warren Johnson, Bob Clinton, Darrell Alderman, Scott Jeffrey. I worked with these people. I worked with Warren and was able to help him win his first championship. From him doing that, midway through things, he first sent Kurt, his son, to me.
Right.
Then he sent Scott Jeffrey on to me. Then he sent, no, wait a minute. He sent Kurt. Then he sent Greg Anderson. That was his crew chief.
Correct.
And then he sent Don Beverly. Well, what I didn't know, Warren would call and talk to me about it after we got through it each day. And when they went back, they had to write him a term paper. I didn't know a thing about it. I was watching TV. I think it was Columbus, Ohio. Warren was the fastest thing there was back then. And each round, he would try to be faster and faster. He'd turn it a little bit harder, turn it a little bit harder. And Greg and Kurt had told me what he was doing. And when you raise the RPMs up from being a good baseline, the clutch comes in so hard and causes tire shake back down. So Warren comes up, spent 4 days. First put him in the Thunderbird and let him make 3 or 4 runs. And he didn't do what I asked him to do. And we had to have a serious talk. So the next 2 runs, he listened. And so when he come back, we went to lunch. We got back. They had his car ready to go when they come in. The one Beverly was driving, Kurt got in. And they put a fresh in, or not a fresh, a test engine in. And so we went out and spent 4 days. A day of driving my car, basically. And then late afternoon, put him in his car and made some baseline runs. The next day, we made some more runs. Some of them was what Warren wanted to do. Some of them was what I wanted to do. Some of it worked what I wanted, and some of it worked for Warren. And so from there, we spent 2 more days of making the track, and I owned Rockingham Drainway at that time, making the track the way every track was going to be that he went to from then on out. And the goals was to win the championship. And so at the end of that 4th day, I had been trying to help a guy, and he was very difficult to deal with in Pro Stock. And he told me I didn't know what I was doing, and I forgot everything about Pro Stock. So I just got through working with all Warren's team. And then he come. And I took Warren up to the office and set him down. And I asked him, I said, I've got to hear something from you. I said, have I forgot how to get a car up and down the track? He had that little snigger and looked at me. He said, why do you think I'm here? Now, I want you at every race from here on out. We went. I'm not saying everything I wanted to do was the right thing, but we got Warren calmed down and not turning the motor so hard. I threw the clutch out of whack. And we went to Englishtown and qualifying. Last qualifying, he went out there and turned it, shook the tires. We come back. I'm with Greg Anderson. And I tell him to get the computer out, get the computer run out. So he got it out, went there and put it in the computer. And I told him to shut the door. And me and Warren went in there and started looking at the computer. And from that day on, that run, we all were so proud of Warren getting control of himself. He makes more power, especially back then, than anybody. Today, he's done nothing for 2-3 years except work on his 500-inch motor. But Warren's a smart man. He's
He
not
is.
going to spend his own money to go racing again. And I don't know. I'm 74. I think Warren's about 72. It's hard to take a guy in the 70s and go out and get a big sponsor and the company promote them. They're looking for young people and people they can promote. And winning races is not everything. The things I learned from Buddy Martin, showmanship has got me to where I am. I've had good sponsors through years and stuff. It's been a business to me. When I decided to come back in 2010, I put somebody in my car, run pro modified. Um, then I just kept going and it wasn't working out. Money was going away. And I'm sort of like one, I should have spent my own money. I did though. So 2010, I decided to go superstock racing again or go racing. And so um, the reason I decided is because one of my very best friends, James Finch, Phoenix Construction, Phoenix Racing. I go to Daytona, him and um, Rick Hendricks was wanting me to come down. I'd been sick and I wasn't doing a whole lot of nothing. And James called me after about the third call, and Rick had called a couple times. And so I told James I'd go. Well, he calls Hendricks and tells him I've agreed to come. So Rick calls me, and now you'll go for James, but you wouldn't go for me. So
Uh,
it was tough to say no and no to Rick or James. And so we get down there. A couple of my friends, one worked for me, had beat cancer. Another good friend in town owned a restaurant. And so we was there on Wednesday having lunch. And he asked me if I was going to Daytona. And I said, yeah. I said, you want to go? He looked at his wife. She said, you'll never, ever have this chance ever again to have this much fun. You need to go. He said, yeah, I want to go. What do I need to do? I said, get about $20,000. I'm a little low on money. And let's go. Oh, I can tell you, we got my excursion. I drove a ways. Then I put my buddy that was working for me behind the wheel. And me and Jimmy had a large time riding down the road. And the next day, we went to the track. They picked us up at the hotel on a golf cart right straight across from the track. And so we're going in, and James's guy that he sent out there called, told him he had me and two other people. Well, I could tell James was waiting on us at the Daytona Speed Club. And he comes out and he says, Roy, I don't know what we're going to do. I don't have but 2 tickets. Let me tell you, these tickets are not cheap. I understand that. I know what tickets cost. I know what racing costs. And we're standing there talking. And I just talked to him today. Stu Grant with Goodyear, which I've been on Goodyear tires since 1969. And I'm still on Goodyear tires. So he hears the conversation and he turns to James and said, you take them 2 boys going up. I want Roy. We got a lot of old friends up there and we'll run across from the hall. I'll sign him in on Goodyear. So we go in and we went up and I stayed about an hour. When I got through, I went over to the Daytona Club. James is waiting on me. My buddies is waiting on me. And as soon as I got in, they ordered me a couple of drinks and I was behind. So nothing to do Roy. He's going to fix this. So I ordered 3. About that time, James gets a call and tells me to go over to the window if somebody wanting to talk to me. It was Rick Hendricks. waving his arms. He's down there on pit road. He said, if we win this 125, you come to the winner's circle. If not, I'll see you in the pits. Or we got another race. We'll meet you in the garage area afterwards. And he said, turn around, James has got you a surprise. So I turned around and handed James the phone. He said 30-second words. You know, I don't know what he was saying. I didn't pay no attention. I was having another drink. And so he gets off the phone, and I said, okay, where is she? 2 years before that, I was there with James. He had one of his ladies in a mink coat, and she opens it up. Do I need to tell you what she had on under?
No, sir.
Where is she? He said, you crazy son of a gun, I got you one of those new Cobra jets. Well, I'd heard when I got there, P.B. Candies, his dad, Mr. Paul Candies, had gotten him Cobra jet number 13. I've heard all about it. He was going to Roush to get motor work done. And I go back into the 60s with Jack Roush. I go to Georgia and pick that car up. Spend about a week and a half on it. We're scheduled to test on Monday after the 4-wide race. It rained out Sunday, so we had to load up, and Ford had the track ready to Dick Rockingham. And we go down there, and I'm by myself. I'm still able to work and do things, you understand? Go down and unload the car and check the air and the tires. Went out, put my driving suit on, went out, put my helmet on, and went to the water box. And I cut it loose. And I come back, and I'm sitting there looking at my time slip. I think it was 8:57, 151 mile an hour. And a guy come running over there, and I'm looking at my time slip. He says, can I see that? I looked at him and couldn't figure out who he was. Well, he was one of the head engineers with Ford. And he commenced to ask me a lot of things about the car. And it's hard for me to remember sometimes what I've done, you know. He said their mule car, their test car, had never run better than 65 at 147. So that started a pretty good relationship. 10 minutes later, I'm going to call Finch and tell him he already heard what I'd done. Rick Hendricks had already heard what I'd done. So I don't know who the spy is that keeps up with everything I do for them, but it's been a heck of an experience. That started my Cobra Jet Super Stock venture. We bought the second one, bought number 16, and that's how we started development driver programs. And I think now I've got 7 or 8 Cobra Jets, but I'm really focusing on training people. And if I see something in the school that I think they have what it takes, I offer them a chance to come in a driver development program. And I've got one boy that I've been working about a year and a half with. I'm getting ready to bring a young girl in. And she'll be to school this next week, the 27th and 8th. And if everything goes right, we'll stay and run a race on the Wednesday after school, 29th. A little test and tune race, give her some experience. And the young boy is about 60 miles from me. So it's easy to say, come on up, we're going to go test. And it's easy to say, come on, we're going to go race around here somewhere. He's won several. He runs several national events. He's not won one yet, but he's won some rounds. So I feel like if I have 2 of them working together, he's 21, I think she's 19. She's got, I think, what it's going to take. She has traveled around the world doing gymnastics, tumbling, and it is amazing how focused she is. And she really wants to do this. So we're going to have a lot of fun in the future. We're going to continue our schools, and we're not going to book big schools. We're going to book small schools that I can help and give people what they feel like they want. Um, we're getting ready to go up on our prices. Everything, insurance, track rent, everything is going up on me. And we've not had an increase in several years. And so if I'm losing money, I got to do something different. So
Correct.
this next goal, the next one will be in July. We'll raise what it costs to come. We have something really going on good. This is our 5th year of doing it. I think the 27th, 28th, isn't it, Kim? We have a junior dragster camp. I'm losing it. And we'll have 15, 20 juniors. And I have some good people that's been with me from 5 to 10, 12 years. And when I say good people, they know what I expect. They know how I train. And so since my accident last year, I've been able to stay on the golf cart and have a headset and talk to them. And my instructors do a great job. Roy Hill cannot make this by himself. And it's from Kim here in the office to my wife to 3 or 4 of my guys that come in. You have to have younger people that can still work today, and finding them is tough. But this junior camp, you cannot believe how rewarding it is to take a young man that's never done this, or a young lady, and have them going up and down the track in the first day in the 8th mile. A month ago, I was so fortunate. NHRA wanted Don Garlits to get his license again. He hadn't had a license in 5 years. He was wanting to go over 200 with his electric car. So Don called me, and we've been friends since the 70s, and told me the situation. And I said, well, come on up here. So I put him in one of our top tractors, and he went out and run 720s. After we'd spent a day at Piedmont running 8th mile, we went to Rockingham. And I'm so proud of what Don did at 90 years old. Isn't he 90, 94? And he ran 688, well over 200. And he still got it. And we filled out the paperwork. He sent it straight to the president of NHRA, Glenn Cornwell. And he has his license. And he went and run his electric car that weekend. Had some problems with the batteries. They shorted out. He's decided to do some things different with the battery car. But get ready for this. I get a call 2-3 weeks ago from his daughter. He is coming with his great grandson for this junior dragster camp. And
that right there is awesome.
I'm thrilled to death he's coming. He's seen what I have done in the school, and for him to make the statements he has, it's just like me. When you meet me, I'm just Roy Hill. I'm not on a pedestal. You meet Don Garlits, Lord God, what has anybody ever done to beat Don Garlits? He's Big Daddy, but he's a person. And we have a good communication. Pro stock driver I trained. Oh, good God, back in the early 90s. Robert Patrick. He's coming and going to be a guest instructor, but he's bringing his 13-year-old daughter. And we have a car sitting here because I know Robert. that he can take home with him if she decides she really wants to do it. So from people coming and going through the school and see they can do it, and mom, dad buys them a car, grandpa, grandma, um, it's more than just driving schools. You can come here and get anything you want. We're phasing out some of our Cobra jets, some of our school cars, and they're good cars. They're reliable. I build engines, have engines built that are very reliable and strong. Our rear end motor does a heck of a job. Just got two in yesterday for the school cars. Um, Today, everybody wants aluminum rear end. Oh gosh, yeah, they break. They might be 5, 7 pounds lighter. In my school, we've got rear ends. We run 300 runs. It's a steel case, steel spool, and there's no flex on it. And that's what I have. It's something that holds up. The ATI transmissions are second to none. Jim Beatty is coming with his 9-year-old son that's been racing 2-3 years. So when you have these kind of people supporting you and then bring their kids to you, that makes me very proud. And
I tell you what, it brings me a lot of joy. You know, you're talking about the kids coming and going through the junior dragster program. You know, they were getting a lot of information give to them, and the most important is always safety. I get a lot of thrill of watching these young kids out at Gainesville Raceway. That's my home track, and when I look out there, I see future generations that will continue funneling in and keeping NHRA alive. And like you was talking about the young lady and young man that's coming into your development racer development program. I mean, it's just great. I mean, we're at a time where, you know, like yourself and I have to get out. That's another reason why we wanted to do this show is to grasp people's attention and say, hey, once you get involved in doing something, come out to the track. You like dealing with hot rods? Well, come out to the track. Start running a car. Uh, get acquainted with everything, and we need to keep our sport going and growing because we were there at a little time back. We were at the point where when you looked up in the stands at national events, it was mostly middle-aged people and up in the stands, and I'm starting to see a big turnaround at national events that you see more and more youth coming in and watching the national events, and that gets those younger kids interested if they're in their teens or early 20s to get into bracket racing. And I really appreciate you what you do, helping keep our sport going, but also teaching safety and discipline, sportsmanship to other drivers, and being respectful.
you know, we let you can call them children, young people, whatever you want to say. I don't hide things. This is a very expensive game. And when your mama, daddy, grandpa, grandma spends the money they spend to get you a car, what is the new one used to get you a little trailer, or got a pickup truck they got to haul, and they got to buy spare parts. Um, I see kids wanting to know how to take the trash out. I see kids that sit and just punch on their phone. I see kids that are very well mannered, and I bring it out how grateful they should be for what is being done to help them get a chance to go racing. And whether it's a street car and you want to go to a Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night race and do bracket racing, give it all you can give it. Learn how to do it first the right way. You go to the track, you've got 10 people telling you how to do something. Find one that you believe in. If you really want to learn the right way, call Roy Hill or go on his website.
Yes, sir. And you're definitely right. I mean, we're at a point in time where kids, they rather be on their phone, on a tablet, on their laptop, and they've got to the point they just want to close themselves off in a room and do that and not pay attention to what their parents tell them to do. And as a society, we've got to get back a little bit to the old-fashioned way, because I tell you, if my parents told me to take out the trash and I told them no, I was going to get my tail tore up.
They didn't have to tell me but one time, and from there on out, I've done the right thing. And I was brought up the right way, and I try to do the same thing. The money that we used to have and make in the racing in the 70s, 80s, I'm going to Mason-Dixon Dragway. I think it's what, the 29th? When is it? For a reunion, old pro stock reunion. And, I can't wait to go. They call it the Rocking Chair Group.
Yeah, it's the 24th and 25th.
24th and 25th of July,
June.
June. Some of the old racers I raced with are going to be there. I can't wait to see them. Can you imagine the war stories that's going to be told? It's going to be something to listen to. It's a have-fun deal. I think we go in at 9 o'clock in the morning, and this goes on to about 12. And people will come from all around. That's up in Maryland, right in the edge of Maryland, next to West Virginia. And so Brittany Pierce, that we're going to be working with, is just across the state line there. She'll be there with me. So come by and see my future development driver. And I think you can go on the website and find that, where that's at and all about it. But it's Mason-Dixon Dragway, and it's been around forever. I raced there in the 70s, 80s, 90s, and there's going to be people, Carlton Phillips that I raced with, Lee Edwards. There's just so many from up north there that we raced with. It's going to be there, and we're going to have fun talking and telling stories. Every time we get together, it's another story.
You was talking earlier about Rockingham, and I've had the opportunity to go up there and race at Rockingham.
Great.
I love the facility. I really do. And have you heard about the grant that Rockingham's getting to do improvements in the pit area, probably do some repainting and kind of fix the place up?
Yes, I have. And you got to remember, I bought that place in 1992 and sold out to my partner in 98, Steve Earwood. He's done a great job. I've not talked to him about this grant, but I've heard people around town talking about it. But let me tell you, dealing with the government, I'm still working on 3 years ago trying to get my taxes back they owe me. So I hope he gets it before he sails out, because I think October 31st, he is walking away from Rockingham Dragway.
I tell you what, I love the facility, and a couple of drivers, I heard them rumbling in the background while we was up there for divisional finals a couple of years ago, and I was like, man, I love this place. And they were like, do you really? I was like, yeah. I said, it's like you step back in the 80s. I mean, it has that hometown feel, 80s feel, and I says, I love it. I says, I love this track. And I'd never been there before, and I just fell in love with the facility.
You've got a lot of parking room that's on asphalt. And you turn around a little bit, and you've got a lot of parking under the pine trees. and it don't beat you to death, the heat. I was just down there 2 weeks ago running a points race, and the heat was tremendous. And they do the best they can with the track. But I'm glad to know he's getting some money, and I hope it goes towards bringing the track up some.
Well, I do know one thing about Rockingham. That little concession stand they have over there on the backside, man, they got some of the best hamburgers I've ever ate at a track.
I agree too. Steve does an excellent job down there, and I wish him nothing but the best with whatever he decides to do. And we're we still talk about it every week, but I hadn't asked him about no grant. I heard about it last week, but if he wanted me to know about it, he'd tell me.
Well, I think it's a big positive thing for the state of North Carolina as a whole, because we've had so many tracks close here lately. Houston's gone, Atlanta's gone, down in South Florida, Palm Beach Raceway, it's gone, and that's why also
Englishtown is gone up north.
Englishtown is gone. And there's a lot of history at some of those tracks. You think about Englishtown, I think of Shirley Medowny. That's who I think about. That's where she got her start, was at
I think
Englishtown.
of Don Perdome, McEwen, Ed McCullough. They were my heroes in the 70s when I started going to the bigger races. And I was an outsider. They didn't usually take pro stock people and let them in their world. I had something they wanted. I had control of Hemi blocks and Hemi heads. When the Petties got through with them, they were mine. I'd buy them and sell them. And that was one of the things that helped me get close to Verdome or Raymond Beadle or whatnot. And so we've been buddies with all of them, and they've treated me great. If we went and ate steaks, they'd buy steaks, but they'd let me buy hot dogs, and they'd let me buy breakfast when it was time. They wouldn't ever let me buy a steak. And so I tried a few times, and the man set me down, said, "You're our friend. We know what you can afford to do." And so that meant an awful lot. So I bought a lot of hot dogs, and I got to buy a lot of breakfast, but I ate a lot of good steaks.
There is nothing wrong with that. Not at all. Yep. In your day, racing and stuff, who was the person that you had to run against, that you actually got really intense up on the wheel, and he was just a person that you wanted to beat?
You know, Warren Johnson was the toughest and best there was back then. And I would always visualize being at Indy, running Warren Johnson, and I'd drop the clutch, and I'd be 2 or 3 foot in front of him. I'd put it in second, move another, have a fender on him in high gear, and then win the race. And all of a sudden, you have no brakes, no parachute, and what are you going to be prepared for? I just beat Warren Johnson, but what's going to happen? That's what I try to prepare all my drivers, students, however you want to say. Be prepared and visualize how to win, but also be prepared for something to go wrong. And it's no different right here out in the South, people working. Um, I've always been prepared. And some people think they can just go out and do things and all of a sudden it don't work that way. Listen to what I say and do what I say. You won't get in trouble. So we all have trouble finding people to work today, and they don't know as much as they think they do. 50 some years I've been in this sport. I've learned an awful lot. I've had some good people teach me stuff. And Jeff Warner does most of my school motors. Him and Lon Moyer does the Cobra Jet motors. Jeff looks at still engines. And I don't go tell them how to build the engine. I know how they're going to do it, and they do it right. So find out what you're good at and find the people that you know that's good and let them do their job.
Yeah, you speaking about, being prepared to win and not being prepared what can happen afterwards, the bad things that can happen on the track. And me and my wife, we were just dating when she first went to the track and watched me race. And I told her, I says, hey, go ahead and let you know anything can happen at any time. And I think I scared her because she really don't come to the track with me no more. But I was like, anything can happen at any given time on the track. I says, I'm running against cars. Sometimes I'm the fast car. Sometimes I'm not the fast car. And I said, if he loses control and he crosses the center line, he can't control his car. There's a pretty good chance that he can come into me and it can cause a wreck. And so I was trying to get her prepared for that. And I told her, I says, whatever you do, don't run down to the track. Just stay where you're at. Let the medical crew, safety safari do their job and make sure I'm all right. And then you can come down there. But don't come running down the track. Just stay with your seating and just be calm.
With my accident over at ZMAX Dragway a little over a year ago, thank God my wife wasn't there. I'm lucky to be here. Very, very fortunate. I got backed over, got a double concussion. One of the tires went on my belly, the other one went on my hip, crushed it. They jerked it in gear and tried to get off of me. And when they did the whiplash, it really messed me up.
Right.
3-4 more inches, my head would be crushed. There wouldn't be no royal. It never knocked me out. I'm trying to get my headset off, or it was knocked off. Trying to get the radio off. Trying to get my billfold off. And the young man that was in the driver development program had to see all this. He was about 19. I had a good friend there with me. I handed the radio to AJ. Good gosh. I gave him my billfold, and the safety people, starting line people were there, and they straightened one of my legs out, but they couldn't straighten the other one out. They wouldn't. And I was begging them to straighten my leg out. Well, that was the one that was crushed. And so thanks to MHRA, thanks to all the people at Charlotte Motor Speedway that got me to Cabarrus County Hospital. There was a surgeon right there, a young lady, and I was so fortunate. They put me right in there and went to operating. And that's one of the reasons I'm still here. I spent some time in rehabilitation in a rest home right down the road here, about 5 miles. I owe them everything. I was there about 6-7 months. I went through a lot of pain. The biggest thing I can say, they had me so messed up at the hospital. I didn't know where I was at or who I was. And I decided one day to stop taking that pain medicine. Those IVs, yes, it was tough. But I've never had anything that would control me that I couldn't stop. And there's a video my wife's got. Every once in a while, she'll show it to me. Not very often. But it's me learning to walk again. Just moving a little bit, an inch at a time. And when you see that and see where you're at today, and I'm not able to walk like I used to yet, but I'll never give up. My good friend Eddie's stopped by to see me. It looks after all our cars and paint and body work. And when you got friends like that, when you got somebody like Kim running the office, the people that help me out here in the field, I got to do it not just for them, but for myself too. And
Right.
I'll never give up and don't see any chance of me quitting drag racing at all. the school is the way I can be in this sport for a long, long time yet. And what's great, the people who've been involved with me, the pandemic took some of them away. They're gradually coming back because they know what Roy Hill's word means, and I'm not quitting.
I tell you, my wife asked me to quit, and I told her, I says, I can't. I said, drag racing's part of my life. I mean, that's me. I mean, that's what I become. I mean, it'd be like me telling you, you can't go shopping no more.
My wife's smart enough not to say that to me, and so I'm very fortunate. There's no stopping something like this. It's worse than, as they say, any alcohol, drugs, or anything I've ever seen. When you're doing something you love to do and can make a living out of it, how can you say it's not good for you?
Right. And it's a big, when you have a regular job, it's a big stress reliever to, get away from everything and go out there to the track. And when you're at the track, no matter what level you're at, I mean, everybody around you is like family, and everyone is willing to pretty much help you. I've never been in a situation where I've had something go wrong with a car that another competitor would come over that I race with in the same class and, hey, what's going on? Let's get in here. Let's get it fixed so we can get you back out there in the staging lanes and get ready for the next round. And I like that.
I want you to remember what you just said. If you have a big job and it's relaxing for you to go to the racetrack. I have to make things work for me to go to the track. And that's what Roy Hill has always done. He lives on the edge. I'm not scared to borrow money to make things happen. It just makes him work really, really harder to pay it back.
You was talking about, the students that come through your program. Now, you're probably going to laugh at this one because I think you pretty much already explained it. And I think one of the things is keep your mouth shut and your ears open even wider. What is the hardest thing to teach one of your students? What do you usually find out that's a difficult thing?
The ones that know a little bit are dangerous, and they don't know how to listen. The ones that don't know nothing are a whole lot easier to train because they learn to listen. They all learn something. I'm here to help them, and I become everybody's Uncle Roy. They might not like me the first day, but the second day when they leave and they got their license and they got a certificate and a picture and a plaque, it means everything to them. They have my phone numbers in the office, in my cell. They can call me anytime with any problem. And that's very rewarding. And trust me, this is not just the little people. I'm fortunate to be dealing with a lot of top high profile racers. And they can't talk to another driver and say, I don't know how to do this. They learned that Roy Hill can help them. I'm just very fortunate, and I'm not going to toot my whistle anymore. I'm just very fortunate to have the people that I've had to be able to try to help, and it's helped me.
Well, to go through a program like that, I would want someone to be tough. If I'm making a mistake, I want to know what that mistake is so I can correct it. And, if anybody's ever been involved in any kind of sport, they've always had a coach. And that's pretty much how you have to look at an instructor like yourself at the drag racing school, is to, take the criticism and do better. That criticism's to help you build up and become a better racer. And I hope that people will take note that's coming through your program or thinking about going. to your school, Roy Hills Drag Racing School, that's watching this tonight, and understands, that criticism is to build you up, not to tear you down.
You know, you're exactly right about that kind of stuff. You can let a person make a mistake. We're human. Humans make mistakes. A computer, you turn it on, it runs through a brain, it does it every time. If you make a mistake, we talk about it. You go out the second time and make it, you're being talked to a little harder. The third time, I go in your butt, because safety is the most important thing. If you're about to hurt yourself and you're not going to pay any attention, I'll take you out of the car and I'll let you sit in the stands and watch some other people do it. And if I feel like you're ready again, we'll put you back in a car. But life's too short for me to get tore up and have ulcers again like I used to back in the early 90s.
What do you think about the pro stock class today as it stands compared to when you were racing pro stock? Do you think it's better, or do you think there's some changes that need to be done? And the whole thing, it took teams a long time, a little while to catch on to the EFI stuff, switching over to carburetor to EFI. And to me, honestly, I don't know how you feel, but to me, honestly, it's still one of the closest competitive racing classes in an NHRA. I mean, number 1 through 16 can be separated just by a couple of thousandths.
That is very, very, very true, and it's so competitive. The racers have priced themselves out of the ballpark. As we talk about what I've done in the past, in the 70s, 80s, even into the 90s, early 90s, we still had match races. Lord, my match race money has helped everything I've done through the years to pay for things. The pro stock people, the Top Fuel, the funny car people, they don't have match races no longer. They have priced themselves out of racing. And yes, they're very competitive, and I like it. But I don't like to see people spend all the money they spend. And I see people come in that think they have money. They can't compete against the Forces, the Schumachers. They have big budgets.
Right.
And so you're going to always have that, somebody that's got a little edge. You look at Greg Anderson, you look at Elite Motorsports, they pretty well rent all the engines, even the cars. And how can you compete against somebody you're renting engines from? They can't afford to go and put in a $1 million engine shop and hire $2 million worth of people to go outrun Greg Anderson or Richard Freeman's cars.
Right. And I like seeing, we got Camry Caruso that's came up in pro stock, and they're running Titan engines, which they actually think got those from Gray Motorsports. They went from Gray Motorsports to Elite, and now the Carusos have them with Jim Yates over there. And I think I had Erica on one time, and she was talking about the renting the engines. In the past, to rent an engine or so for a season was like $700 and something thousand.
That's cheap.
So
you get down to the real price, you better brace yourself. And I've not met Cameron or her dad, but they've done a very good job getting where they've got to, and I wish her nothing but the best. And I hope she gets her sponsors that she can stay competitive with. But the family might have a lot of money, I don't know.
I know Sand Haulers just extended their sponsorship with them for the next 3 races, I do believe. I had actually posted that, and want to give a shout out to Drag Illustrated because they actually broke the story on Facebook. That's where I seen it from,
Right.
and kind of looked into it deeper and wrote a pretty much an article of my own, but wanted to give the reason why I wrote that was because of Drag Illustrated. So I try not to take anything from anybody and try to give the person credit uh, for breaking the news first. But yeah, I mean she's doing a great job. Got her already a number 1 qualifier. I think that was there in Houston, and ran Erica in the final, and Erica was able to win. And but I tell you what, I think they are on a mission. Jim Yates, he's a very smart guy. We actually had them on the show a couple of weeks ago, and I look for her to do some really great things. Well, she's going to probably make it into uh, the chase and stuff this year, but I think next year is going to be a breakout year for them.
Great.
As long as, like you said, they keep those marketing partners in place.
Jim's a great guy. Good crew chief. He's raced. He's brought a lot to that team. Um, it's going to take an awful lot of teamwork, and all these other teams. Greg Anderson is one of the best. Richard Freeman. Erica, I think, is the best driver out there today. And I've been here a long time watching. I can remember Erica first getting out of their junior dragsters. We were up in at Don Doug Herbert's shop, and she was sitting beside me with an autograph session. She didn't know how that, and I started sliding cards when I'd sign one to make sure she signed it. And she loosened up, and I don't think she's ever forgot that. And she is first class. Her sister handles most of the media. Richard Freeman, good God, if you had him behind you, you can go to the top. And she definitely has him behind her.
Do you know a Troy Davis? He just posted a comment.
I do.
Said he was at your shop back in, looks like 97, 98.
I think he worked for me some.
Yes, sir.
Yep. Troy's a good boy. He has done excellent having children, having a wife, and a business. He has a real good business. I watch him work and come up. He didn't think, he basically thought I was a butthole. And he's today what it takes to be a winner, and he's definitely a winner.
Well, I tell you what, I think we're going to go ahead and get ready to wind it down here. It's been a pleasure having you on. I hope I get the opportunity to come up there to your school and experience firsthand. And like I told you a couple days ago on the phone, when I'm able to do that, I'm going to bring some equipment, do some recording, and going to share that on our On the Spot Motorsports Facebook page to get more people acquainted with what goes on in your class and show pretty much all the ins and outs.
Well, I'm looking forward to you come up. I really enjoyed the show, and thank you for having me on.
I do appreciate it. Anytime you want to come on, just give me a call. Hey, we'll make it happen.
I've lost you.
There you go. Can you hear me now? I said anytime that you want to come on, just give me a call and we'll be glad to have you.
Thank you, Mitchell. I appreciate
Yeah.
everybody. It's been a great show. And you asked some good questions. I hope I didn't wear people out more about my history.
No, sir. I tell you what, history makes us what we are today. If no matter what it is. Uh, well, there we go. Having a little issue with the internet. But yeah, history makes who we are. Uh, that path moves us to become great people in society and teach others, especially drag racing. When I'm out there at the track and I see a young person and they're not doing what they're supposed to do, I'll talk to them and say, hey, you might not want to do that. That looks a little unsafe, and just kind of guide them along because I made those mistakes when I first got into drag racing. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mr. Roy Hill. We really do appreciate him coming on tonight and talking a little bit about history of his racing career and also talking about the school. Again, if you are not followers of On the Spot Motorsports with David Rogers, please come and like our page. Follow us. We try to keep up as much as possible with NHRA, and we filter in a little bit of NASCAR in from time to time. And again, I want to thank everyone for joining us. It's been a pleasure. I hope everybody had a great time.